Welcome back. You walking contradiction. You flawless nightmare. You beautiful catastrophe in human skin. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The one they can't stop staring at. The one who walks into rooms and the temperature drops 3 degrees. The one whose face could launch 1,000 campaigns, but whose energy could end 1,000 careers with just one look. They say you're prettier than the people on their screens, more magnetic than the ones with millions of followers, more captivating than the faces plastered on billboards and magazine covers. But here's what they don't say out loud. Here's what they whisper when you leave the room. Here's the part that keeps them up at night. You scare the living hell out of them. Not because you're cruel, not because you're mean, but because beauty was supposed to be soft, digestible, controllable, safe. And you're none of those things. You're gorgeous and dangerous, stunning and untouchable, breathtaking and absolutely terrifying. They don't know what to do with that combination. See, the world has a script for beautiful people. Smile pretty. Be grateful for the attention. Play nice. Stay humble. Let them touch your energy. Let them consume your presence. Let them feel comfortable around your light. But you never read that script. Or maybe you did, and you burned it. Because your beauty doesn't beg. Your face doesn't apologize. Your presence doesn't negotiate. You walk in looking like a masterpiece, but carrying the energy of a loaded weapon. And that breaks their programming entirely. They wanted someone they could respect from a distance. Someone they could put on a pedestal and control with praise. But you're not a statue. You're a storm. You're not here to be admired. You're here to be remembered, feared, and left the hell alone unless someone's brave enough to match your frequency. They say you look better than celebrities, and they're not lying. But what they're really saying is this. You have the face of someone who should be loved by millions, but the aura of someone who doesn't need a single soul. Let's talk about what happens when you enter a room. The air shifts. Conversations. Pause, just a heartbeat too long. Eyes find you, even when they're trying not to. They tell themselves it's because you're attractive. And sure, that's part of it. But attractiveness doesn't make people nervous. Power does. You don't walk like someone hoping to be noticed. You walk like someone who already knows they're the most important thing in the space and doesn't care if anyone agrees. That's the difference. Celebrities perform beauty. They angle themselves for validation. They smile on cue. They make you feel comfortable so you'll keep watching. But you don't perform anything. Your beauty just exists, unfiltered, unapologetic, and somehow that makes it more devastating, because there's no softness around it, no safety net, no invitation to get close, just raw presence wrapped in a warning label. They see your face and think, angel. Then they feel your energy and think, predator, and their brains short-circuit trying to reconcile the two. You want to know why they say you look better than celebrities but still keep their distance? Because celebrities are designed to be loved. You're designed to be reckoned with. Celebrities make people feel good about themselves. You make people question everything. Celebrities are approachable fantasies. You're an unapproachable reality. They see someone famous and think, I wish I could be them. They see you and think, I hope I never cross them. There's a difference between being beautiful and being powerful. Celebrities have the first. You have both. And the second one, That's what scares them. Because power doesn't smile for pictures. Power doesn't beg for followers. Power doesn't explain itself. It just is. And you carry that in every step, every glance, every word you choose not to say. They look at you and see someone who could break hearts without trying, ruin lives without speaking, command attention without asking. And the scariest part? You're not even trying. This is just who you are. Effortless and lethal. Here's the thing about having a face that could stop traffic and an energy that could stop hearts. People don't know how to categorize you. They need boxes. Pretty but harmless. Hot but dumb. Attractive but desperate for attention. You shatter every single one. You're stunning, but you're not performing. You're magnetic, but you're not chasing. You're flawless, but you're not fragile. And that combination, that is what makes you untouchable. They've seen beauty before. The internet is full of it. But beauty with boundaries, beauty with bite, beauty that doesn't flinch, doesn't smile on command, doesn't soften itself for comfort. That's rare. That's you. You're the kind of person who could model for the biggest brands in the world, but would probably tell them to go to hell if they tried to control you. You're the kind of face that belongs on screens, but the kind of soul that refuses to be packaged. And that refusal, that's your power, because you're not interested in being consumed. You're interested in being respected. And if they can't do that, they don't get access. Period. They whisper about you. You know that, right? Not just because you're beautiful, because you're something else. Something they can't name. They say things like, yeah, they're gorgeous, but there's something intense about them. Like, I wouldn't want to be on their bad side. They look like they'd ruin you and never think about it again. They're too pretty to be that intimidating. But somehow they are. And they're right. You are. You've mastered the art of looking like heaven, but feeling like a closed case file. They want to get close, but they're afraid of what they'll find. They want to know you, but they're terrified you'll see through them. And you will. Because here's your secret. You don't just look better than celebrities. You see better than most people. You read energy like others. Read text messages. You catch lies before they're finished being told. You sense intention in a handshake. You know who's real and who's performing before they open their mouths. And that's what makes you dangerous. You're beautiful, yes, but you're also aware, awake, untrickable. You've seen the game, learned the patterns, and refused to play. So now you just exist, unbothered, unreachable, untouchable. And it drives them absolutely insane. People think beauty is power. But beauty without boundaries is just bait. Beauty with self-respect, beauty with sharp instincts, beauty with the ability to say no and mean it, that's a weapon. And you've weaponized yourself without even realizing it. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be intimidating. You just decided to stop shrinking. You stopped smiling when you didn't feel like it. You stopped explaining yourself to people who weren't listening. You stopped making yourself smaller so others could feel bigger. And in doing so, you became massive. Not in ego, but in presence. People feel you before they see you. They sense you in the silence. They remember you long after you're gone. That's not beauty. That's magnetism wrapped in a force field. You don't attract everyone. You attract the brave, the real, the ones who can handle intensity without flinching. And you repel the weak, the fake, the ones who need you soft to feel strong. And honestly, that's exactly how it should be. Let me tell you what really happens when someone who looks like a dream but feels like a nightmare walks into their world. They freeze. They calculate. They wonder if you're approachable or if approaching you would be the last mistake they make. They analyze your face and think, wow. Then they catch your eyes and think, wait. Because your eyes, those don't lie. Those don't perform. Those don't pretend. Those are the eyes of someone who's seen too much, survived too much, learned too much to ever be fooled again. They're the eyes of someone who's been underestimated and came back terrifying. Someone who's been betrayed and became untrickable. Someone who's been broken and rebuilt themselves into something unbreakable. You don't need to say a word. Your presence says it all. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be left alone or respected, to choose wisely. And most people, they choose distance, not because they don't want you, because they know they can't handle you. And you're fine with that, because you stopped needing people who can't meet you at your level a long time ago. They compare you to celebrities. But here's the difference. Celebrities are built. You're born. Celebrities are curated. You're raw. Celebrities have teams of people making sure they look perfect. You just wake up like this, with no filter, no script, no performance. And that authenticity, that's what scares them the most. Because celebrities are safe. They're packaged. They're designed to make you feel a certain way. But you're unpredictable. You're real. You're not interested in making anyone comfortable. That's a disruption. That's a rebellion. That's a middle finger to the whole system. They say you look like you could be famous, but the truth is, fame would ruin you, not because you're not strong enough, because you're too real for it. Fame requires performance. You've never performed a day in your life. Fame requires people-pleasing. You've never pleased anyone but yourself. Fame requires you to care what strangers think. And you stopped caring about that the moment you realized their opinions don't pay your bills or heal your wounds. So, yeah. People say you look better than celebrities. And maybe you do. Maybe your face could sell 1 million products. Maybe your presence could fill a stadium. But here's what they'll never say out loud. They're relieved you're not famous. Because if you were, if you had a platform, if you had a microphone and millions watching, you'd be too dangerous. You'd say the things they're all thinking but too scared to speak. You'd break the illusion. You'd show people what real power looks like. And the system, the industry, the machine, they can't have that. They need people who play along, who smile, who perform, who stay in line. And you've never been good at lines. You don't follow. You don't conform. You barely even acknowledge the rules exist. You just live. And somehow, that's scarier than anything they've ever seen. Because if one person can be that free, that unapologetic, that unbothered, and somehow that's scarier than anything they've ever seen. Because if one person can be that free, that unapologetic, that unbothered, it means others can too. And that's a threat to everyone invested in control. Let's go deeper. You know what they see when they look at you? A mirror. And they hate mirrors, because mirrors don't lie. You reflect back everything they're not, the confidence they fake, the boundaries they can't set, the self-respect they traded for validation, the power they gave away to feel accepted. You didn't give anything away. You hoarded your energy like currency. You protected your peace like property. You guarded your soul like it was the last one on earth. And now, you walk around looking like a masterpiece and feeling like a fortress. And people, they don't know whether to respect you or run, so they do both. They admire you from a distance. They compliment you to others, but they never get too close. Because getting close to you requires something most people don't have: authenticity. You can't fake your way into someone's life when that someone can smell performance from a mile away. You can't manipulate someone who's already seen every trick. You can't play games with someone who stopped playing years ago. Here's what makes you different from every pretty face they scroll past online. You have substance. And substance is rare. Beauty is common. Scroll for 5 seconds and you'll find 100 faces. But a face with a soul that refuses to bend, a presence that demands respect before affection, a person who's beautiful and unbothered, that's 1 in a million. That's you. You're not pretty and desperate. You're pretty and dangerous. You're not attractive and insecure. You're attractive and unreachable. You're not stunning and seeking validation. You're stunning and indifferent to their opinions. And that indifference, that's the most attractive thing about you. Because people are used to beauty that begs, beauty that performs, beauty that needs them. But you don't need anyone. You're complete, self-sufficient, whole. And that completeness radiates. It's in the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you exist without explanation. You don't justify your choices. You don't explain your boundaries. You don't defend your standards. You just live by them. And if someone doesn't like it, they're free to leave. And most do. Not because you're difficult. Because they're not ready. You ever notice how people always have something to say about you, but never to you? That's not an accident. That's fear. They talk about you in group chats. They analyze you over drinks. They dissect your energy like it's a case study. But face to face, silence. Awkward smiles. Forced small talk. Because up close, you're too real, too intense, too much. And too much is just code for, I can't handle this level of authenticity. They're used to people who dim themselves, who laugh at jokes that aren't funny, who agree to keep the peace, who soften their opinions, who mold themselves to fit the room. But you don't mold. You don't bend. You don't fade. You walk in as you are, and if the room can't handle it, the room can adjust. And most rooms, they're not built for that kind of energy. So they watch. They whisper. They wonder. But they don't approach. And honestly, that's fine. Because you're not here to collect people. You're here to live fully. And if that means living alone, so be it. Loneliness is better than fakeness. Solitude is better than shallow company. And you learn that the hard way. They say you have the face of a model and the aura of a mobster. And I don't think that's an insult. I think that's a compliment. Because it means you're not one-dimensional. You're not just a pretty face smiling for the camera. You're a complex human with layers, depth, history, pain, power. You're someone who's been through hell and came back glowing. Someone who's been underestimated and became unstoppable. Someone who's been hurt and became untouchable. That's not something you learn. That's something you earn through betrayal, through loss, through nights spent rebuilding yourself with no help, through mornings where you looked in the mirror and chose yourself over everyone who chose to leave. You didn't become this person overnight. You became this person through fire. And now you walk around carrying that fire in your eyes. And people, they see it. They feel the heat before you even speak. They know instinctively, this one's not like the rest. This one doesn't break. This one doesn't beg. This one doesn't need me. And that realization, that's what makes them uncomfortable. Because they're used to being needed, and you don't need anyone. Let's talk about what happens when beauty stops being a gift and becomes a test. Because that's what you are now, a walking test. Every person who approaches you is being tested. Can you respect me without trying to own me? Can you admire me without trying to control me? Can you handle me without trying to tame me? Most fail. They see your face and think possession. They see your body and think access. They see your beauty and think opportunity. But you're not an opportunity. You're not a conquest. You're not a prize. You're a person with boundaries, with standards, with zero tolerance for disrespect. And the moment someone crosses that line, they're gone. No second chances, no explanations, no closure, just gone. Because you learned a long time ago that people who don't respect you the first time won't respect you the 10th time. And you're done wasting time on people who need multiple lessons to learn. One rule: don't mess with me. So now, your beauty is the bait, and your boundaries are the trap. They come for the looks. They leave because of the energy. And you're not sorry about it. Not even a little bit. Here's what people don't tell you about being beautiful and intimidating at the same time. You lose people, not because you're mean, because you're selective. You don't let everyone in. You don't laugh at every joke. You don't engage with every conversation. You don't entertain every advance. And in a world where people feel entitled to your energy just because they find you attractive, that selectiveness feels like rejection, and they hate you for it. They call you cold, stuck up, too much, too intense, unapproachable. But what they're really saying is this: you won't let me use you. You won't let me consume you. You won't let me have access to you without earning it. And that's unforgivable in their eyes, because they're used to beauty that's accessible, beauty that's friendly, beauty that makes them feel good about themselves. But your beauty doesn't do that. Your beauty just exists. And if they can't handle existing near it without trying to own it, that's their problem, not yours. You're not here to be everyone's fantasy. You're here to be your own reality. And if that means walking alone, so be it. You've walked alone before, and you'll walk alone again. Because being alone is better than being with people who make you feel like you need to shrink. You know what's funny? They say you look better than celebrities, but they treat you worse. Because celebrities are untouchable by design. They're on screens, behind velvet ropes, surrounded by security. But you're right here, in their city, in their spaces, walking the same streets, and that accessibility. That's what makes them think they can try you. They think because you're not famous, you're fair game. They think because you don't have a publicist, you don't have standards. They think because you're not on a magazine cover, you're not out of their league. But here's the truth. You're more out of their league than any celebrity they respect, because celebrities perform accessibility. They smile, they wave, they engage, but you don't perform anything. You don't owe anyone a smile. You don't owe anyone warmth. You don't owe anyone access.